Hello everyone, my name is Siddharth Rawat and today I'm going to take you through an exciting video about how to get started with Apache Cassandra and then use Java to connect to the Cassandra database. We have a few prerequisites before we start this tutorial. First, we need to install Cassandra from Cassandra Downloads. Here I'm using the 2.1.21 version of Cassandra for this video. Next, we need a Java IDE for writing our Java code. I'm using Eclipse as a Java IDE for this video. Once we have downloaded our Cassandra, we need to access it via the terminal. Here I've already used the bin folder, and now I will be using the node tool command for accessing the node tool status. The node tool status gives us the IP address that we can use for our Cassandra Java programs. Next, we are going to check the node tool info. Let me just type that for you. Now we check the node tool info. Let me just write the command for checking the node tool info. The node tool info gives us the information like the rack, about the rack, the time, the uptime. Once we have checked both the node tool information, we will then go to our CQL shell. The CQL shell uh, will be used for creating the key spaces. The key spaces is similar to a schema in a database where you can create tables. Uh, I've already created a key space to save time for this video. Let me just use that key space. It's called demo.users. So once we have entered the SQL shell, we will create a new key space. Key spaces in Cassandra are similar to schema in databases, where you can create tables inside these key spaces. I have already created a key space called demo_users. Let me just use the describe command to check this key space. So here you can see that in this key space there's a table called users, which contains last name, age, city, email, and first name, where last name is a primary key. Now we'll use this key space for our further video. Here, if for the initial start, we need to see what is under the users table, and you can see that the table is empty right now. Now moving on to the next part of the video, where I'll show you how to connect a live Cassandra database using Java and perform the basic CRUD operations on this database. I'm using Eclipse as my IDE. Here I have already created a project called Cassandra Test, and I've got three Java programs called Cassandra Test, Getting Started 1, and Getting Started 2. There is one more prerequisite for this Java program, that is the reference libraries or the dependencies. For this, I have already downloaded all the jar files, and for that we have to go to the build part. For the external Java files, we go and configure the build path. Uh, Here you go to add external jars, and I have already imported them to my uh, program to save some time. Next is we will go to the first part where we are creating a cluster and then a session. A cluster is basically used for connecting to the Cassandra database, and the session is actually managing that connection to our cluster. So here in this cluster, we will be performing the basic insert, delete, and update statements. So first we go into the insert statement. Here I'm inserting a new user with the same values: last name, age, city, email, and first names. And the values are Jones, 35, Austin, and Bob. And we are using the second query to select this user and display it. Now I'm going to comment the rest of the code so that we can go step by step and see the whole operation being done. Now we'll run this program. Ignore the errors, and we can see that the output is Bob 35. It says that a row with Bob 35 has been added to our Cassandra database. Now what we'll do is we'll go to our terminal and check if this row has actually been added to our database. We'll use the select command, select star from users, and here you can see this row has been added to our Cassandra database. Now moving on to the next part of this video, where I'll show you how to update this row in the Cassandra database. For that, I'll have to just uncomment this part and place it in front of the delete. Here, if you see, we are updating the user age to 36, where the last name is Jones, and then we are selecting that particular row for that user where the first name and the age, where the last name is Jones, and that user will be displayed here as the output. Now we run our program. And here we see Bob 36 being added and displayed as the user that has been updated. Now we'll go back to our terminal and then check our Cassandra database for the update, and we can see that the age has been updated to 36, where the last name, which is the primary key, is Jones. Now moving on, we will delete this user and then show what is the remaining rows in that database. Ideally, we don't have any other rows that are in that database, so the database should be clean after we do the delete operation. In the delete operation, we are using the primary key Jones, and then we are using the select function again to select from users and display the remaining names. Once we update and run this command, we should ideally have, I just forgot to remove this comment, and we'll run this. And you can see Bob 3536 is the output of the previous lines, the insert and the update operation. But now the delete operation has also been executed. We go to the terminal and select our table to check if we have deleted the user. And you can see there are no rows in our database anymore. So this completes the first part. Finally, we just need to close the cluster as well. The last command, cluster.close, closes that cluster for future use, and then we can move on to the next, the last step of this video. Now we move to the final part of this video, where we are going to create another console application for doing the basic insert, update, and delete operation but we will be exploring connection policies, query builder, and prepare statements. We've already imported the necessary libraries for this program, and now we move into the code where we are using clusters, sessions, and results. The prepared statements that are being used here are a more secured way to move the data in and out of your database. We can only use bound statements to read and write from clusters. Now, first we connect to a cluster, which is similar to what we did in our previous example. But we have also stated a default retry policy. This default retry policy is basically defined just in case we face a request timeout or the node fails to connect. Now we move on to our first operation, that is inserting the record. Here, as we stated, we are using the prepare statement to insert into the users, where the format is last name, age, city, email, and first name. And we are using the same example of Bob Jones, age 35, Austin, and email as bob@example.com. And then we are selecting this user to be displayed. I've already commented the rest of the code to check if this code works and is also reflected on our Cassandra database. You can ignore the errors, and we see Bob35 has been selected and shown as a value as a row that has been added to the database. Now we go back to our terminal in our SQL shell and select star from users to check if this row has been added back to our database, and we can see that row there reflected with the same values. Now we do the update statement. For the update statement, I'm going to comment the part where we're using the delete statement. Here in the update statement, we're using the query builder.update, where the key space is demo_users and the table is users. Here with the query builder, we have set the age to 36, which actually updates the age from 35 to 36, and a where clause is used, which checks the last name as Jones. Then we use this same select command to display the updated row in our Cassandra database. Now when we run this program, this row should be updated, and we see the output Bob36 in our console in Eclipse. Now we check our result in the SQL shell, and we can see that the age has been updated to 36. Finally, we move on to the last part, where we will be deleting this user and then closing our connection. Here we're using the statement.delete, again the query builder.delete, where the table is users and the primary key is last name, which is equal to Jones. And then we show that user is gone by selecting the table, the key space demo_users and the table, and executing the query to display the entire table. So again, we execute this program and check if we have removed and deleted the row that has been added to our program. Now we go to the terminal and check if this has been deleted, and we can see that the row has been deleted from our database. This completes the video. Thank you for watching.